All right, are we rolling?
Yeah.
Take two. Okay.
Yeah, I just
Try to minimize
like
distractions.
the purpose of this video.
Okay. So I'll preface this video, if you're one of our few YouTube followers and ardent viewers, this may not be as fun or amusing, entertaining, polished, whatever, as some of our others. This might be pretty dry, unless you want to stare at this sleek and sexy boat for 10 or 15 minutes. The purpose of this video, this is a 1946 Century Sea Maid, and the purpose of this video is to kind of give a walk around and demonstration for sale. And yeah, so it may be a little dry. I've got some notes here all typed up, some talking points. So we'll get right to it. So as I said, this is a 46th Century Sea Maid. Bought this last spring, and sight unseen, bought it out of Oakdale, California. And thought it was a really cool boat. Lined up some shipping for it, had it delivered to the house. Did a little bit of tinkering, did some improvements with it, had a lot of fun with it last year, and decided to move it along and sell it this season. So, keep rolling. Is that good? I mean, no, I'm serious. Like, I can cut this. Is that, you think it's fine?
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay.
Let's get all the way through it. And
All right.
If we want to do it again, we can.
All right. So, some pointers on this particular model Century. This 46 Sea Maid was very unique. It was kind of a one-year only thing. Very few of them made. The first point of uniqueness about this boat, it's 15.5 foot long. Most boats of this size were, I'd say, 20, 21 feet. In 46, you know, that the country was winding down from World War II. Not as many materials were available, so Century opted to make a smaller boat that year, basically due to material availability. So, move around here. The length is the first unique point about this. This boat was also unique in the fact that it came with a center engine, center barn door configuration, where if you look online, the majority of them, the engine was in the rear. This one has a pull style shifter here. I want to pan over and see. This year had this configuration had the pull style shifter. They were made of Honduran mahogany. And from the research that I've been able to do, I would say less than 100, I'm thinking, around 100, maybe less than 100 were ever made. And there's only a very few of this configuration in existence, 5 or 6 anywhere in the world from what I've seen online. Not many of them at all. So this is a very, very rare and very unique boat. It's hard to track down records to get an exact number, because apparently in 1965, there was actually a fire at the Manistee plant where Century boats were made, and the heavy water damage and fire destruction pretty much destroyed most records they had in terms of production numbers. So yeah. So let's get into this model, this boat in particular, and go through what's been done to it. So this boat, the previous owner acquired this boat from a ship museum. And that it was previously donated to that museum. The PO acquired it, and it was in very, very rough condition. I've got photo albums of it, but it was almost a shell. It sat out for years on this trailer that it's sitting on. The PO got it, decided that he wanted to refurbish it, and he did a full resto on the boat and on the engine. And he did this over a period of, I would say, I think around 2 years, maybe pushing 3, but at least 2 years to do this, looking at his notes. This boat is sitting on the original framework, minus 2 pieces of framework in the engine area. Talking with the previous owner, those were cracked, and he opted to replace those with thicker wood, for a little bit of reinforcement. So when he replaced those, he used some thicker white oak to replace those with. The keel is original. he said that he opted to use 2 original planks on the bottom that were still in good condition, but everything else had to be replaced. So all the sides, interior, all the planking on the sides and the top, that was all replaced. He basically, looking through all the photos and the documentation he has, going through all of it, he basically used the original boat as a pattern, and then he basically totally refurbed and patterned all of it off the original wood. So the bottom on this boat, the previous owner went with a dolphinite bottom on this. That was the original type that it would have been built with, and he also opted to go with the dolphinite bottom because it's less permanent and much more serviceable over the popular 5200 bottom ends that you may read about. He restored this boat on the top side. He used African mahogany and white oak. The African mahogany obviously is used on the planks, and then the white oak used for the structure. And as I mentioned earlier, the engine had a full rebuild on the engine, core rebuild, and all new externals. And we'll get into that. Externals, charging system, carb fuel pump, all those good things. So totally new electronics, new engine, all that gone through. All right, so let's cover what's been done to the engine and engine externals, which we forgot to do during the original filming video, I realized. So we'll start with what the previous owner did to this. First and foremost, the entire entire core of the engine was pulled down. Block was pulled. Everything was disassembled and gone through. Cylinders, board, new piston, new rings. Lots and lots of machine work done. Thousands of dollars spent on it, with several pages of receipts that we have in the big receipt binder available. So all that was done, and then let's get into the external. So we'll start with the electrical system. The electrical system was converted from 6-volt to a 12-volt system. So it was fitted with a rebuilt starter, rebuilt generator, and a new voltage regulator. Ignition system was converted, upgraded to 12-volt Pertronix ignition that you can see there. Coil and distributor assembly and all that. And then cooling system. It was fitted new water pump, oil cooler was gone through, new oil lines, new cooling lines on all the engine. Moving on, fuel system. So it has a single carburetor setup. The original Zenith carburetor was rebuilt and gone through by the previous owner. He also fitted a new old stock flame arrestor to it, as well as replaced the mechanical fuel pump with the new old stock OE mechanical style fuel pump. So all that is new condition, good and ready to go. And then new fuel lines, obviously, a couple inline filters with an inline shutoff valve, and then a new fuel water separator added. And then going back, we also have receipts for him boiling and cleaning the original fuel tank, which that fuel cap, as we mentioned earlier, is original. But that fuel tank was pulled from the boat and it was boiled and cleaned, and we have receipts for that. Yeah. So now moving on to what we've done to this engine since we've had it. The big things. We replaced the manifold on this boat, or on this engine, with a brand new off-the-shelf, new old stock Bar Marine exhaust intake manifold assembly. They no longer make these, but there's a supplier. There's a supplier that basically bought out all the stock from Bar, and we bought one of the remaining ones that he had left and fitted it and installed it. Going back from that, one other improvement we made was originally this boat was fitted with a basically a piece of brass pipe in the original design, a big piece of brass tubing, and the water injection went straight into the exhaust around this area somewhere, or in here, and the exhaust is consequently, as a result, the exhaust, this whole section was getting very hot to touch. So after talking to some of the experts, that was kind of a known, I would say, design problem on some of these earlier models. So we opted to purchase one of these new reproduction water jacketed exhaust elbows. And what that does is it injects the water into a water jacket, not into the exhaust. That water runs down this jacket here and then injects right there, which does two things. It cools this whole unit down, which keeps it cooler. That also decreases the steam that is produced in the exhaust system up here, which is close to your exhaust valve on cylinder 6. And you're also moving where your water is injecting, further down into the exhaust stream and not up into here. So you're keeping your water away from your valves, away from your engine, and you're cooling this down. So that was a notable improvement, and we've been very happy with how that's performed since we installed it. So last of all, another big improvement that we decided to do before this season and before selling this boat is we opted to go with and installed the later year improved design gray marine cylinder head. So the original cylinder heads were thinner. They were both prone to warpage and they were both prone to cracking. If you see a lot of these engines, they'll have, a lot of these original heads will have repairs made on top, or you'll see water that kind of leaks around the top. And Gray fixed that in the later models by going to this much thicker, much more robust cylinder head. We sourced this from Vanessa Engineering, and it was basically pulled from stock, and everything on it was checked. It was certified to be okay, pressure tested, the deck checked, all that. So we ordered that. It was checked to be good by him before he shipped to us, and we installed that with a new head gasket, obviously. So I think that covers it. Yeah. And we'll go through. We've got books of photos, documentation, books of receipts, pages and pages and pages of receipts. All right, so we'll go ahead and go through a documentation here quickly, but let's go ahead and lay it out here. There it is. I guess we'll start with the photo album, go to our receipt book, and then, here's just the some service manual material here. I'm gonna flip that open. So the previous owner was nice enough to include a photo album of a lot of the boat's progress. And I'll just quickly flip through that so you can kind of see where the boat started, the condition that he got it in, and how it ended up. If anybody wants to see any of these photos in particular, let me know, and I can certainly, yeah. So you can see this was a lot of work. You can see why he pretty much replaced everything. There was the original Phantom 6 engine that's in the boat currently that was pulled and redone. And there's, yeah, so we'll just flip through this start to finish, and you can kind of see his documented build process here that he photographed. He's doing the bottom, looks like. Yeah. There's the, so that looks like bottom finished, more woodwork, and then you can see a photo right there of, it looks like once the engine was freshly rebuilt, just before it was reinstalled. If I can get this horizon leveling to quit messing with me. There's the new motor, not new, there's the rebuilt engine installed in the boat. see. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. I think some of these are a little out of order. There we go. There looks like when it was completed. And there looks like there looks like first time out on the water there, I'm guessing. Yeah. And there's the award that he won. I don't think it showed. Century Boat Award. And I believe it was, yeah, Lake Tahoe, ACBS. People's Choice, yeah. People's Choice Award. There's a photo of that. Unfortunately, we do not have that trophy with this. And there's some documentation of the trailer getting done. So this album, obviously, this whole photo album goes with the boat. Now moving on to some good stuff here. Here's his whole binder of documentation process. Here's some stuff with the title paperwork. You can see this is where he was basically at the California DMV going through his special purpose build, getting the title as the 2020 SPCS, special purpose construction, all that stuff. Here's some, yeah, I guess that's from the boat show, Runabouts in the River. Here's the some insurance statements. Let's see, going through here. A lot of this is, he kept receipts to everything. All right, $200 sandblast trailer. We've got another trailer, another 500 something bucks spent on trailer. More trailer, over $1,000 of work for trailer work. More trailer work. Equipment rental, pretty inconsequential. Caulk gun rental, some other stuff. This is Doc 4. Now this is more of the DMV. This is like the ID plate application material. Here's where the propeller was repitched. That was close to the hull. I believe the blades were close to the hull and he wanted it ground down a bit. So you can see he had that repitched, true repitch and balance cut down to 10.5, 12 inch by 14 inches, prop work done. T-shirts, he must have had t-shirts made, some UPS stuff. Here's a bunch of the receipts for some chrome work. Let's see, West Coast Chrome, 350 bucks. Right here, Paradise Point, that was the, I guess they'd worked on a lot of the install and the outer part of the motor. Over $4,000 spent right there. Vanessa Engineering, the go-to guru for a lot of the gray stuff that you get this new old stock from. Fuel pump, flame arrestor, generator, 12-volt system, 400 bucks. We've got approaching $2,000 in upholstery and carpet installation. More receipts for Paradise Point, wiring and hookups, I believe. Let's see. Here's a bunch of receipts for the hardwoods. I don't know if he had everything, but there's some hardwood receipts there, 100 something bucks. We've got more chrome receipts, $320 for chrome for boat parts. Miscellaneous chrome boat parts, $350. More boat parts, $350. Steering and miscellaneous bracket. So, you know, we're probably approaching $1,000 in chrome cost here of the original hardware that he was able to salvage from the original build. Let's see, more wood purchases of white oak, some millwork that he had done, some African mahogany, and it looks like, yeah, I think that's balance paid off, but it looks like he's got about 1,000, I don't know, quite a bit there, maybe $1,000 total going through quick. The radiator shop, this is where he had the fuel tank boiled and cleaned. You can see there, receipt for that. And here's the meat of it, and I'm not gonna go through all this. Cal's Engine and Machine, this is a lot of the core engine rebuild, I'd call it, and there's pages and pages and pages of this stuff. So this receipt paid in full. You can see here now some of these were probably shown when they're paid off, but this right here, almost 8,000 bucks right there in work done. And you can see all this work and parts. That looks like the same one. More receipts. I think these are work completed receipts here for the same deal. More receipts. Some of these might be duplicates or receipts showing work completed. I think that's another one. I think some of these could be copies, but you can see here. I'll go down in case there's anything new. And if anybody wants to see any of these in detail, let me know. This one looks a little different. Still Cal's engine. Paid $73.30.26. I think these are just more Cal's engine and machine. Some crack repair plugs. I think that was on the original head that we pulled. Let's see. Yeah. You can see there's, like, for instance, yeah, crack repair manifold. Well, we've got a brand new manifold on it now. All right. More receipts. I mean, I don't know the total, but every time I see these, there's, this one's, I think some of them were just as he was paying as he went, but it's a lot of money. There you go, more. Move down this one. Piston rings, valves, valve guides, gasket sleeves, oil pump. 4,000. More. There we go. More wood purchased, more mahogany, more white oak, more metal work type stuff. Yeah. There we go. Boom. Over 1,000. More Cal's engine. This is where, and I don't know if he did everything, the previous owner, he basically went down on his notebook and logged all of his hours building this thing per day, per week, which is, I can't say I would do this. I probably don't want to know the actual time I spend on things that I work on. So basically you can flip through, that's the tail end, all of that stuff. Notes, parts lists. So he documented a lot of his process. That's from the original head. Let's see. Here's receipts. Basically, this was the stuff, some of the stuff we got. There's more receipts from Vanessa for the exhaust elbow assembly, flame arrestor. That was just shy of 400 bucks. And then new cylinder head, or certified cylinder head, tested good, improved design, new head gasket, 840 bucks. So all of this, whole stack of material, which was one big bonus when I purchased this thing, to see all of that documentation captured. This stuff goes with it, and then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we have 2 gray marine maintenance handbooks. This is an original one, which is really nice, and then this was a copy, basically a scanned copy. That's nice to have if you don't want to get the original dirty. So both of these are going. And if you want to say anything particular, again, let me know if you have any questions. So this boat is what I would call a resto mod configuration. It's set up to the original hull design as best as the restorer and the previous owner could pattern to with what he had. But there's been a lot of changes done, a lot of upgrades, things to make it faster, things to make it more usable. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that. The first major point, we'll go ahead and pop the hood here. This boat would have originally come with a Gray Marine 475, and instead, that's not what's in her. The engine that is in this boat now is an early 1950s, so fairly period correct Gray Marine, six-cylinder 112 Phantom. That engine was actually started by, or that swap was actually started somewhere years ago before the previous owner to us acquired it. He found this boat with that engine in it, and he decided to basically just to have that engine rebuilt, then opting to go with the lower horsepower model. This engine is also the same. It's a Gray Marine 6112, also known as the Continental 226 CI. So it's been totally gone through, totally refurbed. The ignition system, it's had some updates to make it more usable. The ignition system was upgraded to 12 volt. So starter, alternator, voltage regulator, all that good stuff. It has been upgraded to a Pertronix electronic ignition system. So those are the major things in terms of changes to the original engine and original engine performance. Originally this would have been a 6-volt configuration. So now, as you can see, one more thing we can get into, the center barn doors. So originally, this whole center section attached would have had hundreds and hundreds of like little brass wood screws underneath of it. The original owner, or the PO, for ease of serviceability and to be able to easily get this motor in and out, he opted instead to, if you pan underneath here, he essentially has 4 bolts, one in each corner, that if you remove those, you can lift this whole center barn door section out of the boat. We never had to do that. We were able to get in and work on this with coming in from the back and through the top, but that certainly makes it easier if you ever have to have this engine removed especially, or really need to access some of the stuff on it to be able to lift that out. You'll notice that instead of caulk on the side, there is some, I would call this like edge trim, some color matched rubber vinyl edge trim. And the reason for that is basically so that so this can come off, so that you can basically peel this out, undo those 4 bolts, and then lift the whole thing out. Yeah. And while that's not,
To be clear, this whole section comes out.
Yeah, this whole center section from the trim to the trim lifts out. So basically you'd have the whole center of the boat completely free. So while it's not totally period correct, I certainly think that's a neat modification to do. It's not very noticeable as far as cosmetics go, but it certainly makes it much more service friendly. So
yeah, for whenever you if you want to do an LS swap.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. You'll notice that we have the gas struts on the doors here. That obviously is not original 1940s technology, but you know what? As much as I rag on keeping everything period correct in certain occasions, I wholeheartedly agree with this. This is very nice. And the reason for this is because you can see it's just so easy, right? Lift it up, flip it, done, flip it, done.
Well, if you're moving on the water.
If you're moving on the water, I mean, I can tell you right now that if I didn't have these, I probably would have had a few times of cussing and pinching my hands in the original fold-out hinges. So I actually like this setup. Again, when they're closed, it's not something you notice, but it's much more user-friendly. And I like having those on there. The steering wheel and throttle. I can just take the camera here, I guess, huh? The steering wheel and throttle. These obviously, I think this is pretty obvious. this isn't original to the boat. It's not necessarily period correct even. He used what he had. You know, he happened to, he sourced this, found it, sourced the throttle, found it. Originally, you would have had a steering wheel with the throttle controls on the wheel. I will say this makes it much easier to get in and out of the boat. A lot of the steering wheels that came on these Centuries, from what I've been able to find, were larger diameter than this, even automotive wheels. And it's close enough to the seat already that you'd be really pressed for space here. I guess at least I don't consider myself that big of a guy, but you can see the leg room. I mean, it's just about right. If you had a larger wheel there, you'd be a little tight. So if you got a bigger guy that's getting in here, this actually makes sense. And this is just a standard, more of a standard boat throttle. And again, it's because, you know, the original would have been on the wheel and we don't have that in this case. All right, shifter setup. This I think I've seen very few. I think this was the only year that had it. The most shifters you see are handheld on the floor, larger lever. This had, you know, like a push-pull, almost looks like an e-brake lever on an older vehicle. This, to my knowledge, is original configuration. The windshield setup is not, this is not original windshield. It's tinted Lexan. You know, it does all right. I mean, it's not heavy glass. It's a little bit lighter. You know, it's got some edge trim on it here. Got some trim to keep it from rubbing the wood on the bottom. We got this neat little Ray-Ban logo on the side. Apparently the previous owner has a sense of humor about like ours, I guess. So yeah, so windshield's not original. More upgrades. Oh, yeah, I'll get into that. We'll go through all the hardware. USB ports. So he did add USB ports on the side. It is handy. It's nice to have that, you know, if you're gonna have 12-volt power, you might as well be able to charge your phone, your stereo, and everything while you're out there, right? Charge your GoPro. Switches. I don't think any of these are really original Century switches. These are just kind of an assortment of, this looks like an older automotive push button start and choke. These are just kind of some standard toggle switches. And then you've got a newer auto manual bilge pump toggle switch here that he added, and then your blower switch as well. Okay, big thing obviously, the gauge cluster. The gauge, when the previous owner got this boat, the original gauge was pretty well gone. I think from what he told me, the panel is roughly the same size. He had this made. The configuration, the panel is roughly the same size the original would have been, but this is new. He made this, and then this is all, these are obviously all new gauges. We pointed out the switch, but you can see this boat, it does have dual bilge pumps. It's got one auto, one manual, and one set up to be an automatic float activated switch, both roughly right under the seat. We've got some photos of this, but we've got underseat cooler cabinets in the front and rear that are basically lined with some, well, I'm having a hard time getting them out, but I think because I'm sitting. But you can see,
Yeah, that's why you don't do this.
We got photos of all that. I'm gonna stumble trying to get them out. Underseat cooler configurations. I guess if you want to take some cold drinks out there with you and hide them away under your seat. Some cold snacks. You got I don't know how much room we got for cold snacks on this. What do you think between all four cabinets?
Enough to keep everybody happy.
Enough to, yeah, we got enough cold snack storage to keep everybody happy. And if you look back there to that point, we've even got cup holders and a built-in bottle opener in the rear. I don't think that was original Century configuration, but certainly convenient. We do have, I can take a photo. We do have some, I think removed them up here for some space. They were just, he had some and never attached them. We do have some forward cup holders that he made and never installed in the boat either. And we'll include those with a sail if you really need to load up your drinks and have one right by each rider. No, they're there. We got them. We got them. So we'll include those cup holders, the color matched club. We'll include those color matched cup holders with a sail in case you need to get everybody loaded up. So this is a pretty big one. So kick panels. Originally, these boats would have had a kick panel basically right here forward of the dash and then forward of the rear seat for the barn door. As you can see, this is all open. This is all open underneath, so you can see the very front of the boat. That's all open, no kick panel there. I don't think this was lack of wanting to do it. Really, this in my mind, and I like this, is it gives you a lot more space. If you had a kick panel here, not only do your feet not really have room, I'm already cramped enough as it is, but there's a lot of space up front to stow buoys, life jackets, anything you need out on the water. And then in the rear, you can see again, no kick panel in the rear. That would be really tight, right? If you drew a line down from the back of the center barn door, I think you'd have not even close enough room for your feet. So instead of doing that, these were basically added. So he basically opted to get as much feet room and as much room for like luggage and stuff as you could. Obviously it's open to the engine there, but you've got a lot more space to work with. So you can set like your cooler, buoys to throw out, life jackets, anything like that in there, which is really nice to have. Speaking from the experience of being out in this last season and this season, I mean, I can say if the kick panels were there, this boat would be a heck of a lot less usable than what it is. We've been able, I mean, we've had what, 4 or 5 people out in this thing. So 4, we've had 4 people out in this thing. And you know, without having room for anybody's stuff, that certainly would be a lot harder to manage. So the seats and the floor panels in this come out really fairly easy, really easy for easy access. The front floor, you may have to pull a little bit of trim off on the side to get it out, so we haven't really opted to take that out, but the rear is certainly easy. These pretty much just lift out. All of these carpeted floor panels just lift right out. These, you can see, these pieces are hinged, so you can easily flip that one open to access the fuel on off. Same thing with this. And then this one, this flips back for easy access to the ball valve seat cock, which is right there, so that you can basically switch water between the intake and between the hose attachment on the side of the boat. The original owner, the previous owner, opted basically to put this hose attachment on the side of the boat to hook your garden hose up to. I'd say it's probably not as big of a deal for us, for younger guys, not that young, but young middle-aged guys maybe have an easier time climbing in and out of this thing and crouching down to hook it up to, you know, detach and hook it up to whatever water line you have in the inside here. But certainly if you're an older gentleman who buys this boat, this makes it a lot nicer to hook up, to be able to just flip that valve from the inside. That's the only climbing into the boat you got to do, and then screw a garden hose on, flip the water on, and start it up in your driveway. So not factory, but handy. And then the last part, paint configuration. In terms of the tint, you can see this does have 2 different stain colors on top, kind of a 2-tone. Caulk is black configuration. I'm not sure if that had white or black back in the day. It could have had white. But the biggest thing with this is you can You can obviously see the sides of the boat have been finished with a dark blue topside marine paint. And while that's not original, I think most of these boats would have had just been varnished, stained and clear varnished. This certainly makes it easier to maintain, easier to manage, easier to keep up on.
Yeah, less surface area to revarnish.
Yeah, less surface area to revarnish. And it does, when you're out in the water, it shows very, very well. It actually, in my opinion, looks really cool out in the lake. I like the color he went with. I think it looks really good. And this boat's won one or two awards with that. It's some century shows back after the PO had refinished it. So it shows really well, gets a lot of attention. So this boat does have an engine blower in it to blow out the fumes. It's so open that I'm not sure how necessary that is, but whatever. Can't be too safe, right? I guess now hardware-wise, try to go through to the best of my ability. This boat does have some hardware on it that is original. A lot of it is new, but we'll go through that. So in terms of original hardware, from talking to the previous owner and what I am able to recall, the shifter is original and was rechromed. Steering column, the steering box and the steering column is the original one that was in the boat. Engine vents, original. These 4 vents, louvers, whatever you want to call them, original, rechromed. And then I actually think these step pieces were original. I'd imagine that he may have had to source new rubber. I can't imagine that holding up after all those years, but I think these pieces were original. Gas cap, fuel tank, and the gas cap is actually original, what was in the boat when it was acquired. I'm not sure about the lift points, if they are or not. Everything else, obviously the stern lights aftermarket, that's plastic. I think most of the tie-down hardware is not original, it's just newer aftermarket. As I mentioned before, the steering wheel obviously and the throttle linkage. Bow light I think is a newer one. And if you point up there, the breakwater, the cut water, the breakwater, those I think he had made. Those aren't the original. Those were made for the boat new. He had those made. And then the rear, the railing, I'm not certain on. That may be new. And then I think he had to have those made also, these rear trim pieces. I think that covers it. Is there anything I missed? Cameraman?
Probably.
Teleprompter? Probably. But if certainly if anybody has any questions or comments, just feel free to ask. You know, I would certainly encourage people to buy this thing off me. It's a super cool boat. It gets a lot of attention. And, you know, I guess if you don't have one of these in your life, all I can say is, you know, life's just simpler when you add water. So, yeah. So I guess from here, cue some 1940s big band music, and I think that covers it.